In this video, we're going to look at how to report grades through ManageBac for diploma program courses. So to summarize what we talked about during our meetings, we looked at using conversion charts to go from a raw score on an assignment to an ISD grade from 0 to 100, which we input into ManageBac. So you might have an IB assessment that's out of any number of total points, depending on the subject and the type of assessment. From that raw score, you can convert it to an IB grade from 1 through 7 using grade boundaries. And then we use the common conversion chart to determine the ISD grade that that particular IB grade corresponds to. ManageBac will then report that ISD grade that you put in as an IB grade and use it to calculate a weighted average that's also from 0 to 100. Now, to be clear, this is only to be applied to assessments that approximate the rigor and scope of an actual IB final assessment. If you have any assessments that do not meet those requirements, you can directly take the raw score and put that into ManageBac as the grade. So to be clear, the conversion from a raw score to an ISD grade occurs outside of ManageBac. ManageBac will not do that for us. We need to use our conversion charts for that. Once you have an ISD grade, that's what you can put into ManageBac, and ManageBac will then spit out an IB grade and also a weighted average. So today we're going to look at how to set categories and weighting, which will satisfy this portion of the flowchart. And we're also going to look at how to set the conversion within ManageBac from an ISD grade to an IB grade. After, we'll look at a sample assignment that I have and go through the process of converting a raw score to an ISD grade using the conversion charts, and finally, how to put that grade into ManageBac. So let's begin with the first objective, and that is to set categories and weighting inside ManageBac. Once you've logged into ManageBac, navigate to the class that you want to set up. I'm going to go into my Physics SL Grade 12 class. On the right-hand side, click the button that says Class, Edit Class Settings. There's going to be a number of tabs up here. We are interested in only 2 tabs today, Grades and Assignment Categories. Click on Assignment Categories. What I have here are some predetermined categories that were set up previously, and I'm going to change those today. So I'm going to go into my grading document and go to the section that has the different categories and weights. So in Physics Standard Level, we have these categories with these corresponding weights. That's what I'm going to put into ManageBac. The first one is Individual Investigations with a weight of 15%. So I'm going to type in Individual Investigation and set it to 15%. This would be a good point in the video to pause and try to navigate to the same screen that I'm on now and try to do the same thing that I'm doing. So while you've paused the video, I will put in the rest of the categories and their weightings and come back to the video once you're done. And welcome back. So I've put in all of the categories and the weightings, and I'd like to now point a couple of things out. The first one is you can use this button over here. This is my favorite part, is to choose a color, and that will be reflected on the calendar when you set assignments. Another thing is that right now I have a category that I would like to delete. So in order to do that, I just go to the delete column, check the checkbox for that particular category, and click Save Changes. One more thing I'd like to point out is that all classes should have a category for the mid-year exam, which is 10%, and the final exam, which is 20%. So once you're satisfied with all the categories and the weights, Save Changes, and let's move on to the next step. The next thing we're going to do is tell ManageBac how to interpret an ISD grade into an IB grade. So remember how I told you that there were only two tabs that we were interested in today, grades and assignment categories? We're going to now go to the grades tab. Now, every time you put a grade into ManageBac, it's going to be a number from 0 to 100. Now this is the screen where we're going to tell ManageBac how to interpret that number from 0 to 100 to an IB grade from 1 to 7. What we're going to use in order to do that is the common conversion table. So regardless of the class, any ISD grade from 96 to 100 is a 7, and any ISD grade from 90 to 95 is a 6. So I simply have to put in the lower boundary of each of those numbers from 1 to 7 into ManageBac. Since a 7 is from 96 to 100, I've put 96 here. And a 6 is from 90 to 95, so I've placed 90 here. Again, this is another good point in the video for you to pause, navigate to the screen that I'm in, and make sure that you have put in the same numbers that I have on my screen right now. So once you have the same numbers that I have on my screen, click Save Changes, and we'll move on to the next objective. The next thing we're going to look at is something that you're going to do quite often, and that is to put grades into ManageBac. So let's split this up into two parts. The first part is we're going to look at how to use the conversion charts to go from a raw score to a number from 0 to 100, and then how to input that number from 0 to 100 into ManageBac. In order to do that, I have a sample assignment here. My class just recently submitted a practice IA that was out of 24 points, and these are all of their scores. So looking at this student here, this student got a 16 out of 24 on an IA. So I'm going to go to my grading document and go to the IA section and go look for 16 out of 24. That corresponds to an ISD grade of 89. So this is the number that I'm going to put into ManageBac. And you as a teacher or as a department are going to construct your own conversion tables depending on your own grade boundaries and your own types of assessments. Now that I have scores to put into ManageBac, it's time to create an assignment so I can start using the gradebook. So let's go back to the dashboard, which is where you often land when you log into ManageBac. Again, navigate to the class that you're interested in, and there are a number of ways to add an assignment in ManageBac, and it doesn't matter which one it is, it's the same result. So one way is to click on the Assignments tab here, and click on Add Assignment down here, or on the right. Another way to do it is when you're in your class overview, is to use this link up here called New Assignment. That's what I'm going to use right now. So it takes you to this screen where you can fill in different details about the assignment. And now that I've set my own categories for my class, I can select which category that assignment or assessment belongs to. So the first thing I'm going to put in for my gradebook is the solar cells investigation. And it was an individual investigation, and it was summative rather than formative. Here's the important part. All of the grades that we put into ManageBac will be a number from 0 to 100. So the maximum points that you set should always be 100. Now if it's something that's formative or something that you don't want to assign marks to, you can leave that blank and click the box Comments Only Assessment over here. And there are a bunch of other options that you can explore as well. So I'm going to fill in the rest of the details, and I'll get back to you once I'm done. Now that I've filled in all the details about the assignment, I'm going to click Add Assignment. So now the assignment should show up in the gradebook. So let's take a look at how to access the gradebook. One of the ways to do that is the button on the right over here called Gradebook. Now, if you weren't on that screen, you can also get there by going through the calendar. I set this assignment for September 22nd, and so there it is, color-coded red for individual investigation. And if I click on that in the calendar, the button to the gradebook appears on the right as well. Another way to do that is to simply, once you're within a class, to click on the Assignments tab up here. There's the button to gradebook again. I can also click on the investigation itself, and there's the button to gradebook again. So there's a number of ways to get to the gradebook. Whichever one you use doesn't really matter. But the point is, all of those methods should take you to this page where you are now able to put scores in for that assignment. So remember that student who got a 16 out of 24? I'm going to now put 89 into the gradebook. And once I move on to the next student, a number pops up. It's 5. So based on the settings that we already put in previously, ManageBac now knows to interpret an 89 as an IB grade of 5. So I'm going to put in the rest of the grades. This is another good point in the video for you to try to add an assignment and navigate to a gradebook, and then come back to the video once you're done. Okay, so I've just gone in and put in the rest of my students' grades. So what a student should be able to see is a number from 0 to 100 and also a number from 1 to 7. All you have to put in is the number from 0 to 100. Now, if you choose to, you can also provide more descriptive feedback, which I think I will do for this particular assessment because it will prepare them for their final internal assessment. For providing descriptive feedback, I find the IB grade descriptors to be extremely useful. So I really recommend that you refer to them regularly. For example, I have a student who I just gave a 2 for on the assessment, the previous assessment. So I'm just going to pick out the sentences related to investigations from the IB grade of 2 and put that into ManageBac. For example, I believe that the student in this assessment exhibited minimal ability to manipulate data, that the student displays competence in a very limited range of investigative techniques. So this is a way that the grade descriptors can help you provide comments for many of your IB type assessments. Right, so apologies for the very long video. I hope it was useful in guiding you through the process of putting grades into ManageBac. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to find me or ask Noah or your department heads for help.